didn't put it up on Twitter.
I did put it up on Twitter, actually.
I mean, the broadcasting. It's not broadcasting.
Oh, it's not broadcasting. I didn't. You're right. I forgot.
Yeah. Can you add it?
I don't think I can add it once the broadcast has been started.
You're probably right. I'm just looking anyway. Let's see what this does if I try. Keep going, man.
Yeah, just want to welcome everybody in here to Saturday Mafia Live. Little SML broadcast here. I see you pulled it up on Twitter. It looks
I
like.
did, yeah.
Well, so you can do that.
Live, that's cool.
Know. Now we're live on Twitter as well. Let me put the little banner down here that I want to put up here. We have the phone system up. If oh no, I gotta find my banner. There we go. All right. Thanks for joining us here on Saturday Mafia Live, SML. We're going to do a little instant react to some of the college football games, to most of the college football games that have been played today. There's still some outstanding out there. Looks like Oklahoma's going to dodge a bullet and beat Houston. Alabama suddenly came alive in the fourth quarter and pulled away from USF. Right now, we've got Oregon versus Boise State. Boise State is up by a score of 10-7, I believe.
Oh, they just scored now, 14-10.
Okay. There you go. Your Peacock must be a little further ahead than my Peacock is.
Okay, so. Yeah, they just threw a 40-yard in for a touchdown.
Okay. So 14-10, but that's still they still got an 18.5-point spread to make up. Some huge upsets today. Notre Dame getting knocked off by a MAC team. Yeah, I just saw that touchdown. Getting knocked off by a MAC team. Maxim was in full effect, losing to Northern Illinois at home.
Was that a bigger deal than Michigan losing to App State?
You know what? It was because Michigan. Okay, Michigan's loss to App State was the first game of the season.
It was.
So you can say that you didn't know how good Michigan was or how bad Michigan
exactly.
was.
That's my point as well. Yep.
Notre Dame just beat Texas A&M last week.
Yep.
Who we were led to believe was a good team.
Yeah, I had Notre Dame in the playoff, boys.
So I think this loss is actually worse for Notre Dame than the Appalachian State loss was to Michigan.
I agree.
But huge upset. I want to say I got a little emotional watching the NIU coach speak.
Yeah, that was cool.
After the game, you could tell he really cares about his kids and his coaches. That's his dream job.
If we try running that video, will it let us play it, or does YouTube shut that down?
It'll probably copyright protect us.
Dang
so
it.
I mean, not even worth it. But
I could look on YouTube if it's on YouTube, maybe.
Yeah, but it's probably going to be on their official channel.
Right. Yep.
That was a huge win for them. And Notre Dame, Riley Leonard, a lot of people thought he was going to be the answer for him this year.
No.
Did not look that way.
No. So it just tells you how bad TAMU is. They lost at home in Texas to a Notre Dame team that just got beat by Northern Illinois.
And then again, Northern Illinois finished, I believe, third in the MAC last year. So it's not like Northern Illinois is a bad team.
They've beaten both BYU and Utah. The road game in Provo was canceled because of COVID, but they beat Utah in Salt Lake.
Yeah, Northern Illinois, good team. Did a hell of a job. Riley Leonard, I don't think is the answer for the Fightin Irish. I know a lot of people said their wide receiver room was depleted, but he did not look good. He just never looked comfortable. He threw some bad passes. Like I said, huge loss for Notre Dame. I mean, Marcus Freeman in his first 3 years has lost to Marshall, Northern Illinois, and a 3-9 Stanford team.
So let's talk about the trickle down that NIL, transfer portal, and being able to pay the players has changed college football.
Yes.
It's absolutely turned it on its head. Teams that used to go 3-4 deep, Ohio State, Alabama, Those people want to play. Those guys want to play and get in the league. They're not going to do that sitting on the bench, very rarely. So they're going to go someplace where they can start immediately, probably cash a couple checks doing it. And now everything's more competitive. Now you have the playoff, which everybody was poo-pooing, saying the playoff's not, it's going to make it worse, right? Those people are idiots. Anytime you add a playoff to anything, it makes more money. It drives interest. It's a fact. That's why
Yeah,
that's why the NFL went from an 18 playoff to a 16-team playoff.
but I
So,
think going back to your point about the transfer portal, I think if anything that's been shown is that maybe some of these kids aren't developed enough yet to go into the transfer portal. I understand wanting playing time,
yeah.
but maybe riding the pine for a year or two helps you develop into a better football player overall. Because some of these transfer players, just I mean, outside of the like fifth year seniors,
Yeah.
you're getting a lot of kids that I'm a freshman and I didn't start, so I'm going to enter the transfer portal and get a starting job, here and here. But I mean, it just boy, Notre Dame, my heart and blood pressure was going through the roof with that game. When they kicked that field goal, you know me, I have no love for the Irish.
No.
So I was ecstatic. I'm sure most of college football nation was ecstatic. It's good to see some of the arrogance knocked out of Notre Dame this early in the season before they get too big of a head about them. So that was a thrilling game, fantastic game. But my game of the year so far, Northern Illinois upsetting Notre Dame in South Bend.
Yeah, I don't think unless Boise State beats Oregon at home, I don't think that's going to be different.
Yeah, I listen. I think if Boise State wins, Boise State's a good team, a good offense anyway. Their defense is terrible,
Right.
but they're a good enough offense to keep up with Oregon. Northern Illinois, they're a good MAC team, but they probably aren't the best team in the MAC. We saw Bowling Green today
Yeah, they
threatening
played
Penn
well
State.
too. Took Penn State
So
down to the wire.
yeah, so I mean, there's some good teams in the MAC. I know I push it all the time, but if you guys don't get into action, got to get into some action. Those are good games on there. Sometimes they're high scoring affairs, but it's fun overall.
Has
Uh,
there ever been a more even topsy-turvy start to a football season? I can't think.
let's see.
I've been around a long time. I can't remember so many 1-0 teams playing each other and having upsets the
Yeah,
next week.
um, Texas and Ohio State in their first two games have looked solid.
Yeah, Texas thumped Michigan for sure.
Georgia looks solid beating Clemson,
Georgia is still number one team in the
still
country.
number one.
Yeah.
Other than that, everybody's kind of looked
Yes.
like
Utah's weak. What did I
Utah
tell
struggled.
everybody in the preseason? Cam gets hurt. I told everybody take the under with Utah if Cam gets hurt. The guy, he just cannot stay healthy. And
Yeah,
now Utah's
tough.
like deep breaths. All of a sudden we're 2023 all over again.
No pun intended. It was a tough break for Cam and the Utah Utes.
And he'll come back, but I
Yeah,
don't think he plays Utah State next week. For one thing, playing Utah State is a suicide mission for quarterbacks. They
yeah,
they are always brutal on quarterbacks. And then you put them out there, and you're already better than Utah State just by lining up with them. So just go out there, kick 8 field goals, win by 3 points or something, and leave them on the sideline, because I guarantee we get to Big 12 play. What they did today, they'll get beat by Oklahoma State. BYU would be a toss-up game. I mean, it totally opens up the Big 12.
yeah. We haven't even got to the Oklahoma State game yet. I've got something to say about that. Um, Michigan got absolutely dominated on both sides of the ball in their matchup
Overrated.
with Texas.
Yeah.
Uh, they're going to have to figure out a solution at quarterback because I don't think either of those kids is the guy.
No,
Orgy,
Arbaugh left a train wreck.
yeah, they left the cupboard bare there. I don't think either of those guys are the solution. Warren did a few good things towards the end of the game, but I think that was when Texas wasn't really playing to their top
Can I
level.
bring up a
So
comparison, Moen?
Yeah.
Remember when Pete Carroll left USC in a dumpster fire? And USC was down for 13 or 14 years. From 2009, when he left, all the way up until now, they have not been super relevant. They're highly rated to go out and play. They end up, 7-5, 8-4. They do not. They were not dominant. So Pete Carroll leaves them in a dumpster fire, all kinds of charges and everything else, and it took them 12, 13 years to get back to where they should have been all along. I think Michigan's going to have the same type of a ride, especially now that you've added so many better teams into the Big Ten. I think Michigan could be in trouble for a minute.
We're going to see. They've got to play USC not next week, but the week after. And
Right
they
now,
get
USC will
USC.
beat them.
Yeah, USC. They've got to figure something out before USC comes in there because
Absolutely.
USC can put up the points as well. So, not a great outlook for Michigan if they get beat by USC in that game.
Yeah.
Going into the 1 and 2. See here, who else did I want to talk about? Colorado.
Oh, they're so bad.
Absolutely smashed by Nebraska.
They are the worst.
Their offensive line is a joke. If Shedeur Sanders makes it halfway through the season, I was going to, I'll give them a round of applause for that.
Travis Hunter got dinged tonight.
Yeah.
Hello.
Travis Hunter got
That's
well,
what happens when you play 100. Yeah, 120 plays a game. Both of those guys are not only going to get hurt during the season, but it's going to hurt their draft stock. It's a huge mistake to play both sides of the ball. That's Deion's ego.
Absolutely. And you know what? I put a little thing on Twitter. It looks like Nebraska might be back.
I said that last week.
Be back.
Miami and Nebraska, Blue Bloods, back in the game.
They got a pretty soft schedule up until the Ohio State game. So
yeah,
that'll be a game. Both those teams should be going in there undefeated. So
I think Nebraska is a fantastic team. Looks like that game's 28-10 right now. Game's basically over. And Shedeur Sanders is coming off injured. Ta-da! Not celebrating any injuries, just stating facts.
Well, his other son broke his forearm in the first half.
He did, and now he's gone. So his three best players hurt, and dinged in the second game of the season, Moen. That's what happens when you put all your money in skill players and you don't build your offensive line. You don't build your defensive line. Your running backs are performing like high schoolers. Colorado is going to pop like a balloon. Deion is not going to be gone. He's going to be gone after this season.
Yeah, you're probably right. He's probably going to go. He might go pro. Somebody might pick him up in the pros.
Dallas. Oh, you're talking about Shedeur?
No. I'm talking about Deion as a coach.
Yeah, Deion could go to Dallas and be the head coach.
He'd be a good pro coach, but he cannot. It just goes to show you cannot build a team strictly out of the portal. They showed a little graphic tonight. I think 45 new players from the portal.
Yes.
Ooh. That's rough. That's hard to get 45 new players to figure out how to play with each other in that short period of time. So,
yeah, and I'm telling you right now, Colorado might win 2 games. That's how bad
Two Master says OU, wow.
Yeah. Let's talk about Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was a tough. I didn't get the final score. I saw it was 16-12. There was a safety by
Yeah, Houston. let me check on the final score for you.
Yeah.
When
I last saw it, it was like $1:48 left, and it was 16-12.
See if I can get the score. So, for some reason, it says this doesn't have the score. I'm sorry. Let me go to ESPN. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Yep. It looks like Clay Johansson is saying it's 16-12 is what it ended up.
Is that the final? Okay.
I would imagine that's the final because, like I said, it was $1:48 before I got on here. So unless they really stretched it.
Yeah. Let me look. Oklahoma 16-12 final.
Yeah.
Okay.
Against
so
Houston.
Arguably the worst team in Power 4 football. And Boise State just took the lead.
Yeah, that's going to be a barn burner, I think. There, that Boise State
17-14. Yep.
Oregon game.
Yep.
I want to pull up some stuff here. Let's talk a little bit. Some other upsets that happened today. Iowa going down on a last-minute field goal at home to Iowa State.
That was brutal.
And a true classic Big Ten game, 19-17, I think is what the final score was.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And then it went to 20-19. So even if Iowa had won that game, they still wouldn't have covered. So Iowa had me screwed either way. Cal beat Auburn.
Yeah, that was a shocker too.
Yeah, Auburn with Hugh Freeze, and we've heard so much about what a great coach and recruiter he is. Lost to Cal.
He's going to be gone at the end of this year. Hugh Freeze. By the
I
way,
think
sorry,
they'll give him one more year.
Northern Arizona is beating Arizona in the middle
That's early on though.
In middle of the second quarter.
Yeah. Okay. What's the score?
10-3.
10-3. McMillan. That's with Arizona. McMillan.
One trick pony though.
It is, but
you can scheme around one guy.
That's a hell of a pony.
Yeah, but again, if your whole team is defending one guy and nobody else can step up, your team is one-dimensional. You'll get beat.
I've seen
probably a few times.
I've seen them triple team that guy before and him catch a pass. So
well, at the end of the day, this is what I'm saying. They go to Provo this year. BYU's defense is fantastic. If you didn't get a chance to watch them last night, their defense is going to be probably top 20 in the country. It is so good. If BYU had a quarterback, which they don't, BYU's a 9-3 team. So that means all the games in the middle, the Arizonas, the Kansases, the Arizona, all those games, BYU is going to be in every one of those games.
Yeah, strong performance by BYU yesterday. If they could just find some offense,
right,
they might be dangerous.
Yep.
SMU looked terrible. Could not.
They are terrible.
They could buy their way into a Power 4 conference, ladies
That's
and gentlemen, but they could not buy a red zone touchdown.
Which, again, we've been saying that since last summer. So
yeah, they are a G5 team in a power conference.
No doubt about it.
Very obvious. And Kansas, Illinois pulls off the upset. Burt gets a win. Big win for them. Oklahoma State comes back from down 21-7 to win by 8 points.
Yep.
And by the way, the spread was 7.5. The only way they could get to 8 points was for it to go double overtime.
Yes.
And get that 2-point conversion.
Yes.
That was the only way that they could beat the spread. And they did it. They successfully beat the spread. Arkansas could not score at the end of the game, double overtime.
Syracuse beats Georgia Tech.
Syracuse beats Georgia Tech. Kyle McCord looked very, very good. Didn't look as good as Will Howard looked tonight, but
no, Will Howard is looking very good.
Yeah. So I'm happy for Kyle McCord, happy for Syracuse. I said at the beginning of the season to watch out for Syracuse. I think Fran Brown has brought a new attitude to that team. I think that they're vastly improved with the transfer portal. I think Syracuse will be one to watch out for in the ACC. And Clemson surprisingly bounced back.
That's a surprise. That wasn't a surprise.
I thought they'd be a little flat. I thought they'd be a little flat-footed after sustaining that beat down from Georgia.
Understandable. Yeah, understandable. Yep.
They bounced back for a huge win. So, and then Tennessee absolutely took North Carolina State to the woodshed.
Annihilated them. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah. North Carolina State, a lot of people were predicting them to win the ACC this year. I have a hard time believing that. As bad as they played today and last week, I'd be shocked if they make it to bowl eligible.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Hey, Moen, is the phone line working?
Phone lines are open.
All right, everybody. Somebody call in. 180 people watching this on Twitter and on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, take the extra second, log in and watch us on YouTube for a minute. Give us a thumbs up and leave a comment, and certainly become a subscriber. Those subscribers are really important to us. We're trying to build that base to 5,000 right now. So if you're on Twitter, take a second, jump to YouTube, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment and subscribe for the channel. And then turn your notifications on. Get a hold of us on Twitter, Moen and I. And yeah, get engaged.
Yeah, that Clemson Appalachian State game, it's in the fourth quarter. Clemson's up 66 to
Yeah,
20.
yeah.
So looks like Arizona scored another field goal, so that they raced that deficit down from 10 to 3 to 10 to 6. USC has got a field goal against Utah State. That game just kicked off. The final in Tennessee was Tennessee 51, North Carolina State 10. I think that was actually at Charlotte.
So we know North Carolina State was overrated. They struggled the first week. Last week was nothing to brag about. And then they get annihilated by a Tennessee team that'll probably be fourth or fifth in the SEC.
Yes. And Alabama was actually struggling deep into the third quarter.
Yeah.
Ends up scoring 28 points in the fourth quarter. That's one of those scores that is going to be deceptive when you look at it. You're going to say 42 to 16 Alabama rolled. They did not roll till late.
Agreed.
Ole Miss, I thought Jackson Dart looked fantastic.
He is good.
He is still probably my top pick to win the Heisman.
In my opinion, yeah, sorry, go ahead and finish.
He's going to throw up Joe Burrow's stats.
I was just going to say, in my opinion, he could win the Heisman and he could be the first pick.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to put up, I think, Burrow's stats.
Guy is. If you ever watch his footwork, Lane Kiffin has got him playing like an NFL QB right now. Ole Miss is going to challenge for the SEC championship, I think.
We touched a little bit on Utah. Utah was rolling until
Cam got hurt.
The injury to Cam, obviously.
And then the game completely changed. Just like 2023, Utah, if they don't have Cam, I wish Ute was here, but he's pretty frustrated.
I can believe it.
Yeah. So
Miami is obliterating Florida A&M 56-9. Was
best team in the SEC.
Sorry,
ACC. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the ACC. It's by far and away.
That is not targeting. What the hell?
There was a bad targeting call in the Ohio State game.
Every game has had them. There's some horrible ones.
It's getting hard to anymore to play football. Kansas State escaped Tulane.
They did.
That was a scary game for them. They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to pull ahead.
Yep, completely agree with you. I think the Big 12, the Big 12's got some athletic quarterbacks, but they can't seem to put it together with their defenses. Jalen Daniels today, 3 picks, I think, and not lost. Cam's hurt. I don't. You got Arizona. Who am I thinking of?
Fafita?
Yeah, Fafita. He's got 1 receiver. So I think the Big 12 is going to take a few. It's going to take a bit to sort out who's going to be the best team or the second team. I think every one of them has flaws.
Well, let me ask you a question, Nate. As a Big 12 homer, obviously.
Right, of course. Yeah.
What was the better win today? Was it Iowa State going into Kinnick and upsetting Iowa, or was it Oklahoma State coming back from 14 down to cover the spread?
It has to be Iowa State. I mean, that was a shocker. Iowa looked like I turned it off. I'll be honest. I turned it off at the beginning of the third quarter. I thought the game was over. I quit watching it. And so when I turned it back on, the game was over. And I was like, holy cow, what the hell happened? Was that an Iowa collapse, or was that Iowa State's defense just bowing up and giving their offense a chance? I don't know what the answer to that question is, but Iowa threw that game away, in my opinion.
They did. I don't think Iowa had any. I don't know. They had offense last week. It all appeared in the second half. They did not have that same offense this week.
No.
It came back down to reality. They simply have a quarterback issue in Iowa. Cade McNamara is not the guy.
which is
Yeah.
ironic, isn't it? That's ironic because they broke all kinds of rules to get him.
Yeah,
And
they got
yeah,
suspended for a game because of it, and
uh,
it just didn't work out. So
Illini Ted's been paying attention, one of our great members. Just as expected, Cal was a great pickup for the ACC. I'll be honest, I laughed at Cal last week. I laughed at Cal the week before. The fact that they beat Auburn, who we're now finding out is not very good, is a huge win. Going to Auburn, going to Alabama, and playing that game, it's one of the hardest places in the country to play. I think that is a big win, and maybe Cal's back. I don't know.
yeah, it's funny. Out of all the three schools that came over, Stanford, Cal, and SMU, the one who probably had the least expectations was Cal.
Right.
And here
Yes.
they are knocking off, you know, a fantastic, what we were led to believe was going to be a fantastic year for Auburn,
Right.
knocking off that Auburn team. And I believe that was at Auburn. I believe that was at
It
Jordan
was. It
Hare.
was in Alabama. Yep.
So, boy, oh boy,
Let's
gotta
see.
love
So
that.
Northern Arizona is still beating Arizona 10-6, and it looks like it might be halftime. Let's see.
What's the
Halftime. It's 10-6 at halftime.
okay? What's the Boise State Oregon score still? Boise up.
17-14.
Okay,
The
good deal.
parity is what stands out to me. Mo, in all these games, there's parity. From top to bottom, you got these teams that on paper, Oregon is light years ahead of Boise State, who's a good Boise State team, and yet, they're going to end up pulling away probably in the late fourth quarter. But my gosh, the parity is incredible. All these games we're talking about, there's never been more interest in college football than right now, and it's because of parity.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up parity, Parity, but there's also been a lot of parody, Parody,
Yes, there
of
has,
college football teams acting like contenders. For example, Colorado. Colorado got absolutely obliterated.
and
They
they're
were
not
not a
good.
contender. They're going to be lucky if they break 500 this year. If Shadur Sanders is out, if that you said he was dinged up and left early in that before the end of that
At
game.
the end of the game, yeah.
Yeah, if he's injured, we know Shiloh Sanders is injured. Hunter got dinged up tonight. He can't play.
No way.
Things could get really bad in Boulder really really quick.
So
So
let me give you some Arizona stats here. Tetaroa McMillan, who was over 210 yards, something like that last week, 3 touchdowns, just laid waste who they play. Wyoming, he has 1 catch for 12 yards. Fafita is 8 for 11 for 55 yards. Northern Arizona, Moen, that's what we're talking about. This is the difference. College football today, that is the difference. We got to bring Rock and Ran in here. Look at this
yeah,
guy.
he's got a black screen, so I don't know that he's actually there yet.
I think he is. You there, Rock?
I am.
See, he said he
Oh,
didn't have his camera.
okay. I did not see that part.
Yeah, I am, though. It shouldn't just be a talking whatchamacallit, but I am here. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
What a freaking insane day of college football that was.
Yes, agree. And it's not over.
It's not over yet, guys.
And it's not over.
I will say this: Northern Arizona beating Arizona. That's a Big 12 team losing to is Northern Arizona FCS.
Yes, I think so.
So that's a Big 12 team. Penn State today struggled against Bowling Green.
Yep.
Ohio State though dominated against Western Michigan. So
As they should have.
as they should.
Yeah.
And it could have been a lot worse. We got some calls on us that I thought were questionable. But
So
let's
tell us
say,
about Miami, Rock.
yeah, let's talk about
Tell us
Miami,
about
Rock.
Miami.
Yeah, I would say it was one of those typical kind of those games. Like for perspective, Florida A&M, is a SWAC team, so it's HBC. It's also but it is the defending HBCU
Right.
national champions, right? They had won 13 in a row, so it's one of those games, right? Like totally expect to win. There's a couple of ex-Miami guys on there. There's a lot of South Florida and rest of Florida recruits on that team, but a game that you expect the final to be the way it was. From a optics perspective, they came out super strong. Defense was really good. Second quarter, they started making some substitutes down to like the second team while Cam Ward was still in there. Got a little bit sloppy. I'm sure they went in and got their butts handed to them at halftime, going up 25-6, and they came back out of the third quarter, went up, put up 21 points in like 10 minutes. Cam Ward got his 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, which will be a highlight you'll see, and took him out of the game. And it was all like backups from midway in the third quarter all the way through the end, plus some garbage time for people earlier in the second quarter that they had to clean up. So it was one of those games which is normal for an Ohio State to do what they do. Like Miami in the past few years, every time you thought they were good, this is one of those games, not that they would lose, but you'd come away going, damn, I was really looking forward to seeing all the true freshmen that were going to get some burn, and it doesn't happen, this time at least. Oh, I remember him. I was excited when we signed him, and you got to see someone get their first sack, someone to get their first interception, 3 people get their first catch. It was the way it should have been, even though it wasn't perfect, but it's probably actually a good thing for Miami that it wasn't, because it gives them stuff they have to work on until like their last sort of mid-major game. They play Ball State next week, who won today, but I didn't actually see any of that. But, from the morning till just now, and I have Peacock on here on the side, like hoping that Boise makes Idaho sort of the canary in the coal mine to what's going on with Oregon. And
look at Essie's going.
yeah. And depending upon like what story you want to tell, depending upon your conference perspective, like you can spin it pretty much any way you want today, right? Like there were moments where it was going in one, you can take the whole NC State getting demolished by Tennessee, which a lot of us, I think, expected, maybe not to that degree, and counter it back with, hey, Cal went in for all of the grief they've gotten and made Hugh Freeze and all of that money, and that they're supposed to be doing a turnaround. And they were in control of that game for the most part, It was freaking amazing. And it's always that week when everyone says there's going to be no good games or there's only 1 or 2 top 25 matchups. We have one of those weeks every year. I just feel like we're going to have like 4 of those weeks this year. It just seems like it's the chaos.
I think it might be the entire season. That's what we led the show with. I think the parity that's out there now because of the portal, NIL, bagmen, paying players. I think you're going to have teams. Every conference is going to have a jumbled middle and top. Every power conference is, and there are no bad wins anymore.
No, well, they're not. Like, there's no bad wins in the NFL, right?
Yeah, well, because of parity, that's the reason.
Right, like you're just trying to get into the playoff, and like perfection isn't at the bar. If you get it, great. Like, you get if you get it and you win your championship game, then it matters, and you get yourself a bye.
Right.
But you might also be just as good not making your championship game, not playing in that game,
right,
and then playing in the first round with like the 5th seed, and you still have the same amount of wear and tear. In your first game, you get a home game, and you rest up. Like, there's a world where that happens for somebody that's actually better, despite not having the optics of having won your conference. So, I'm not bored. I'll put it that way. After 2 weeks.
Yeah, I just want to give a quick score update here, because there's some games that are between teams that aren't ranked, but I think are important. Texas Tech is getting dominated by Washington State, 21-3. That's in Pullman. The Texas Tech is driving; they're in Washington State territory. Arizona State is up on Mississippi State, 10-3. They have the ball and they're driving. So we will see how that one turns out. And Oregon State's up on San Diego State, 7-zip.
And it's going to be like this all season. I firmly believe that once you get into conference play, it's going to get even more jumbled. So people ought to be happy about that, right? Don't we want competitive games?
Absolutely. The only thing that I'm not happy about is that Venue didn't launch, because having to have like 4 different apps going at the same time, on 3 different screens, was a total pain in the butt. And like right now, I have to move Peacock into my multi-screen on my big screen so it doesn't suck all the energy out of my laptop to be on here and crash it. So I lost my multi-view of Washington State and whatever, because Peacock's the only, the Boise State Oregon game is there. But that's like first world problems. It was amazing today having YouTube TV with 4 games going, and then 2 or 3 more on my monitor for my computer, and like Greg on and a small thing, and just severely overloading like I was in my own personal sports bar with one client.
So there's 10 seconds left. PI in the end zone. Boise State's got the ball on the 3-yard line.
Amazing.
10 seconds left. I mean, it's just insane, these games. I kid you not.
What's the call there? Do you think that they?
There's 5 seconds left. He just overthrew.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was gonna say, do you make a pass for the end zone? And
yes, that's exactly what he did. Threw to the back line, went over the top.
You're like my Back to the Future, Nate, because you're like 26 seconds ahead of me. So if I can figure out and get my sports book
special
really
Peacock.
fast,
Yeah.
What I have is Xfinity with Peacock. I've got a gig down. It's really, really good service. So they're kicking a field goal.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I figure with 5
That's
seconds
the safe thing
left.
to do.
What do you think about that call in the Notre Dame game? They went for like a 62-yard field goal with 5 seconds left. You go for the field goal there, or having one blocked? One blocked, I thought maybe you'd be better off throwing it up there.
Oh, I don't know. I watched him play a lot last year, but I don't remember what his arm strength is, whether he had it to throw it 60 yards down the thing, or if he's going to try to do like a 40-yard pass down and hook and ladder it.
Yeah, that's what I would think you would do. 20 yards down the field in the middle, have a wedge of guys behind him to pitch it to.
I mean, look, as I said to you guys in chat, but for everybody else who doesn't know, as a Miami fan, the unholy trinity, you talk about the holy war between Utah and BYU, like Miami's unholy trinity is Florida State, Florida, and Notre Dame. And they're all like getting crucified right now at the same time. And it is in a football sense, and it is glorious. And the fact, it would have been amazing even if Miami was like being Miami the last 15 years, but to like at least theoretically be starting off at the same time, great. And you don't even get to what happened with Michigan. Like you can't even keep it up, or Arkansas. Like you couldn't even keep up and remember. You have to have notes on all the games, but that alone was worth it just to watch what might be the definitive upset of the year in week 2 on their home turf was just freaking fabulous.
That's probably the biggest upset, one of the biggest upsets in college football history. I think you have to put it up there.
Well, based off of the ranking, I tend to think the ones that are like later. I mean, we don't get a lot of these games later unless it's within conference. But right now it's also like it is a big upset in every single way, shape, and form. But it's also based off of a perception that Notre Dame was a number 5 school, which is just whether that was accurate or not after 2 weeks in the early season, like who knows. But either way, it would have been tremendous. That school has never beaten any ranked team of this level before, let alone on their home field in the fashion that they did.
And they got paid to do it. Don't forget that. I think it was 1.4 million.
Yeah.
1.4 million. Money well spent, Notre Dame. You entertained the hell out of me with it.
Northern Illinois to the Big Ten.
It's funny we're talking about this, and let's just jump back in time a little. By the way, if you want to join the show, call that number, people. Come on here, and I know you're here and you're hearing us talk, but believe it or not, we'd rather talk to you guys. So somebody call in.
Rock's dog agrees.
I was just going to say that the changes that have happened now in college football, everything associated with realignment, with the money, the way the transfer portal has worked, I don't think you could have a better investment right now as a media company than investing in college football, which is why I think eventually, probably in 2030, 31, we've covered this quite a bit. In my opinion, I think basketball and football do get separated, and it's not just the Big 12. I think that's going to be associated with consolidation of the best brands. And you're going to end up with a, 2 or 3 conference upper division that's got 48 to 60 schools in it. And now every game is a parity game. Now everything is semi-pro, and we graduate to something different. I think people ought to glorify what we have now, because in 6 years, I think it could get completely blown up again.
Or does it not get blown up because everybody's glorifying what we're having now, and therefore everyone, even the networks, realize that the value of, I mean, maybe not NBC, maybe NBC is not really wanting to do that because, you know, if Notre Dame stumbles a bit, that's like, you know, they're one trick pony for the most part. I know they have other games, but that is the preponderance of everything. But, you know, to me, I'm hopeful that days like today make what you just said not come through to the fullest realization that it could. Or maybe it does, but it's still 2 games can fall out of that zone, even if there's this sort of world. Like it's like they're friendlies, to use you know, when Manchester United plays somebody off wherever, and it's still, but they still count the seasons in one way, and they matter perceptionally to it. They're not as friendly as just like a tour of the US that some of the premier teams will do.
Yes.
But I mean, I would hate for days like this to go away, even if my school was fine at the end of it, if that's how it all played out. Because Northern, you know, the one game I was the most excited for as possible upset and clearly was wrong was Appalachian State and Clemson, based off of what I saw from Clemson offensively. But that's because we all believe Appalachian State is like good for one of those games every year where they come close and pulling off a true upset every 2 years. I'll shut up because we have a call.
Who is that, Moen?
Stormy Cyclone.
Sweet Stormy. How you doing, man?
He can't hear you, Nate. Stormy Cyclone, you're on the air.
Oops.
Can you all hear me, or just you, Moen?
I can hear you. They can hear you. You just can't hear them.
Okay. Well, the chaos continues in week 2, huh?
Absolutely. Big win for your Cyclones, by the way.
Yeah, they really played well the second half. I mean, I think Iowa definitely. I think Sullivan will. I don't know. Maybe it's not just the quarterback. I think the coaching issue might be the problem there. I really do. I think it was kind of goofy there at the end. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, there was a lot of teams that you thought were just good. They're just not. You know what I mean? They're just getting exposed. D5 is good. I mean, it's really getting to be parity with this NIL, and I don't know where it's heading. This thing's so wide open. There's about half a dozen teams that stand out. You know, of course, your Ohio State Buckeyes and Texas and Georgia looks really good. I mean, but other, you know, I mean, there's, you know, 3 or 4 other ones, but otherwise it's wide open. I mean, wide open. So I just wanted to call up, and you guys weren't getting any calls, so I thought I'd call up and just see what you guys thought of everything.
Well, thanks for making sure the phone system's working. Eventually I'll get it worked out where you can hear these guys, but we'll figure something out.
I think at this point, my Cyclones look as good as anybody in the Big 12 at this point. You know what I mean? They're injured too, and they got a bye week next week. So
yes,
I think they got some strong things going on there. So I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, Oklahoma State looked vulnerable. Kansas obviously slipped up against Illinois. I think, you know, Utah, Cam Rising's injury. The Big 12 is now even more wide open than it was before the start of this week.
Well, I mean, we had 3 linebackers that were injured, you know, and 2 linemen, and look how they played that second half on defense. I mean, they shut them down. I mean, they made Iowa pass, and they just couldn't do it. So I think this bye week's a good thing this week for Iowa State, and I don't even know who they play next, but I think they got another team before they get into conference play. So, but they're doing all right. So anyway, I'll let you go. I just thought I'd give you guys a holler.
All right, appreciate the call, Stormy Cyclone.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the cheer button. I don't have the tablet plugged in.
Very good.
Thank you, Stormy Cyclone. We know the phone system works. You just can't hear these other 2 guys. But that's okay. You didn't want to talk to them anyway.
By the way, in case you're wondering, Seattle plays tomorrow at 2:35 Eastern, and they have Denver coming into Seattle, and that's going to be a fun game. It's going to be the first game Bo Nix starts, So we'll have to see how that game goes.
Yeah, interesting. I just Texas Tech came back and scored a touchdown on their last drive, so now they've reduced that deficit against Washington State. It's now
To
10 to
10.
21.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're at halftime.
Arizona State's actually extended their lead. They're now up 20 to 3 with 8 minutes left in the second half over Mississippi State. So that's, Mississippi State, Auburn, middling SEC teams are not faring very well today.
Middle of the beginning of the third quarter is still 10-6 Northern Arizona over Arizona. And Arizona has the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Let's say hello to some people here in chat. I know we've been on the air for about 45 minutes. We haven't said hello to some people, so I want to say hello to some people. Nathan Campbell, good to see you. Clay Johansson, he's saying go blue. Hey, you got to be a fan, win or lose. Keep Chopping says Notre Dame won't bend the knee, but they bend over at the hips. Illini Ted says, good evening, guys. Illini Ted, big win for the Fightin Birds. Bert pulled it off. Bert. Nitwit, Penn State pulled one out for you. They didn't look good doing it, though.
Can I say something to Nitwit?
Yeah.
Last week, not Friday, but last week, I was a little poo-pooish on Penn State against West Virginia, and I haven't seen you since then, so I wanted to let you know I was completely wrong. Drew Aller looked fantastic against West Virginia. Today, I don't know what happened, but I think Penn State's very, very good. So I just wanted to make sure I let him know that.
Skaven yes says glad my Huskers won, but second half was dismal. Back to that, we got a phone call coming in here.
Yay.
Call from
BJ.
BJ, you're on the air. What's up, my good man?
Hey, what's up? Ohio State played well today, surprisingly. I just have a few comments to make. I spent the whole day watching college ball, and I'm afraid that the Power Two are going to have like 4 teams each in this year's playoff. And they shouldn't. But it seems like all the teams, there's about maybe 6 or 7 teams that are legitimate, like look like they're better than everybody else. But I don't know, man. I don't know what you guys think about, the teams, like the games that were played. I'm rooting for like ACC and Big 12 teams that play well, and it just doesn't seem like they played well today.
Yeah, I think the ACC is having, outside of Miami. Miami's fantastic. Clemson bounced back. Syracuse looked good. But I think the ACC is a bit of a down year for them. I think there'd be years where they would easily get in 2 or 3 with Florida State, Clemson jumping in there. The Big 12, I think, is still wide open. I think Oklahoma State's still got a shot at it. If Cam Rising can bounce back, he's got a shot at it. There's a possibility of getting 2 teams in there, but I think you're probably right, BJ. You're probably only going to see 1 team from the Big 12 and 1 team from the ACC. And then you're probably going to have Notre Dame taking up a slot too, even with this loss to Northern Illinois.
Tell him.
Yeah, and it's like, I've noticed how the media kind of spins it when a middle of the pack, Big 10 or SEC team lose. It's all this, they don't matter, right? But if Auburn were to beat California or whatnot, they'll post the SEC's record versus whatever conference. But when I look at the teams, like literally any team could be any team minus about six teams, in my opinion. I'm watching this Texas Tech Washington State game. Even though Washington State is up, I think 21-10, they're about to score again. It's just the game could be 21-10 the other way, right? It's not like dominance by any team. But hopefully the Big 12. I was hoping the Big 12 played better this weekend because they lost a lot of out-of-conference games. But Iowa State, did their thing. They won. That was a great game. Hopefully, Utah does its thing too and goes undefeated because you can't keep Utah if they win all the games. But that's all I have to say. I just wanted to make my comment about how, competitively the teams seem the same to me this year.
Yeah, lots of parity. That's what Nate and I discussed at the beginning of the show. There's a lot of parity in the football this year, but that should make good for the 12-team playoffs. So
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, either the Big 12 or the ACC will probably get 2 teams in.
Yes.
Out of the Big 12, you still got Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State could come back. Kansas could go for a run. So still lots of options out there, BJ. I wouldn't worry too much about it till we get to about maybe week 6 in the season.
But you know how the TV folks are. They will find a way to spin Penn State versus Bowling
Yes.
Green
Yes.
positively for
Yes.
Penn State.
Yes.
Let down from a big emotional win last week.
Exactly. But thank you very much, Mo. You guys have a great night.
You do the
See
same,
ya.
BJ. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, for Nate and Rock and Rain, if you ever want me to just relay something to me in private chat, and I'll ask it to him on the phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. That's fine.
I'm like 16 hours into figuring out how to get this to work.
I spent 4 hours on it and quit. So you're better than I am.
I'm going to be an audio engineer. Earl Carr gives us an update. Zona 13, North Arizona 10. So there you go.
So and at the end of the day, remember, if you're old enough to remember the BCS, there was something called style points.
Yes.
The computers were built with an X factor that was how good your team looked. Did they blow people out? Did they, a lot of the same things that happened to Florida State last year during the BCS, that happened every year. And so you'd have an Oklahoma go out and beat somebody 80-2, so they get another 0.1 on their style point so that they can get higher in the BCS. That we're going to get to that point. And the teams that refuse to pile it on, the teams that refuse to sort of go the nth mile, and I would put BYU in that list, not willing to go for the jugular and rip the hearts out of some of these schools that honestly you should be much better than. I think that perception thing is going to really hurt them when it comes to getting that second team in from either the ACC or the Big 12. And we'll get to the end of the season and we'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm right. We get to an end of the season. You have a 10-2 versus an 11-1 in the championship. The 11-1 loses. The 10-2 wins. So now you're 11-11 essentially, and one of those teams is going to be out because every game they sort of snuck by. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Might not be this year, but it's going to happen.
4 hours ago, I would have said that both the Big 12 and the ACC were very much probably on the outside looking in on getting a second team. But after Notre Dame losing, one game probably doesn't completely remove them from the playoffs.
Sure.
But if that performance bears fruit and isn't an aberration, all of a sudden again, Florida State versus Notre Dame,
yes,
is an important game, despite not that it was going away, because that's always going to be a marquee matchup no matter what's going on.
Right.
But if they get a second loss, there's a good chance that Notre Dame, with that loss against a non-Power 4 team at home in the style point zone, isn't going in. So now we're back to a place where maybe Big 12 and the ACC have a shot of getting a second team in again. One of them, not both of them, probably.
Right. Which is why I think to make more money, they need to go to 16 teams. Everybody, who Mark Rogers, I've been on his show a lot. I call Mark a friend. He had me on a show 2 weeks ago, and he asked a question about the playoff, the 12-team playoff. And I said, Mark, look, and this is something he'd not even thought of. A 12-team playoff has the exact same number of rounds as a 16-team playoff. So there's no difference between 12 and 16 except for 4 teams that wouldn't get a chance to be in are now competitive, and you take away all those buys, which in my opinion are just fake anyway, and make everybody win 4 rounds to be the champion.
Well, the thing you do in that scenario, unless you're thinking of another math version, is you could theoretically diminish the impact of winning the conference title of those 4, because all you're then getting is a seed. You're not getting an advantage in the games. So like,
Well, the first round though, you could make all home games.
That's true.
If you don't do a bye, just give all the first round, all the champions get a bye. No, sorry, get to play in their home field.
Right, but then that sort of the 5th place team too, right? Then they're not really. You're diminishing in some form. I'm not arguing that. I'm just playing devil's advocate. You're
Right.
diminishing in the same form because you could be the 8th best seed and get the same.
Well, but it's the seed though. At that point, it's just like basketball.
Right.
The 1 seed versus the 16 seed. You still have the advantage of playing at home, and you were the best one in the best league. You don't lose any of that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they've been trying to, at least in this first permutation, try to emulate more of the NFL version, where being a conference, best record in your league gets you some.
Yeah, but only one though.
Well, yeah, but a couple of years ago it was more. There was a few more teams that got buys, but that
was
changed.
two, and
yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think they're always going to go for the money, so inevitably they'll get there.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's get to some comments here, guys. I want to try and get caught up if we can. I'm going to try to answer as many.
State just scored again.
Yep, I'm going to try and answer as many of these comments as we can, guys. If you want to guarantee it, it'll have to be a super chat. We've got over 450 comments, so it's going to be tough, but we will get to it. Scavin, yes, says Northern Illinois beat Nebraska 2 or 3 years ago. That happened when Scott Frost was there. That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't count.
I missed you guys to begin with, but did we thank Nebraska for doing a favor for America in the beginning part?
Yes, we did. We said that Nebraska might be back. They might be back.
We did say that. Well, last week, and I'm sure you remember I said this, but last week I actually said that I think both the U and Nebraska are back. The Blue Bloods are back in the building, and I think college football is better when they're both in it.
I will say that Miami is present and active. I will not say back because that's just bad juju for a Miami fan.
I like saying back. It's fun.
You can say it. I'm not as a Miami fan because it just comes with all sorts of like weight over history.
Why the hell is this not working?
Clay Johansson says App State loss is worse, but I think I might be biased. They were FCS at the time, I think. They were defending FCS national champions at the time, but I will stick to it that I think Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame is a bigger upset, simply because Notre Dame had a game against an SEC team last week.
Yep.
And that was considered a quality win.
It was a massive win.
By the media, that was a quality win. So Michigan at the time did not have any quality wins under their belt. They were just rated high from preseason rankings. Nitwit says a lot of teams didn't look good today.
I think that's across the board.
I think,
if we were to run through all the games, the top 30 games of the weekend, I think you'd see that there were a lot more upsets and near upsets than you would have ever imagined.
Absolutely.
This is interesting. As long as neither team fumbles it next weekend, we will have 3-0 Illini at 3-0 Nebraska on Friday Fox.
That would be cool.
That was a matchup I don't think anybody had circled.
No, I'm pretty sure.
You know what's wild? As Nebraska keeps winning, talk about medical schools will diminish.
That's true.
Can we drop the whole research medical crap? I'm tired of it. And I'm sorry. I know I'm going to piss somebody off. And I'm an emotional guy, you know. I wore my heart on my sleeve last night. I was up in arms about BYU's quarterback and offense and stuff, but the Iowa thing, waving up at the kids in the hospital, just call me unsentimental. They had that camera on them for 2 minutes doing that. And
Come on, Nate.
No.
They're kids in a children's
So let them do
hospital.
it, but don't put it on television. I don't show
Oh,
me stats and
I
stuff.
don't
I don't
know.
care if they do it, but why put it on television?
I loved it. I love the wave at Kinnick. It's one of my favorite.
Well,
traditions in the Big Ten.
we know who's going to play the role of the Grinch this year.
They play at Ohio Stadium, so
Yeah, I just don't. I don't. It doesn't need to be on television, in my opinion.
okay. Well, you can leave your hateful comments for Nate in the comments. Don't direct any of them towards Moen. Moen and Rock and Rand are for the wave.
He has multiple handles. You don't even have to direct it at the B12 Mafia one. Find his other one and tell him how hateful
I don't
he
care.
is.
I don't care who you give it to. I look. I like the sentimental stuff. Just I don't like it on television.
Ohio State looking good, Moen. Yes, they looked very good today. They were playing Western Michigan, but Will Howard played well. Jeremiah Smith is just built different. That kid is
Expensive.
Yeah, he's expensive, but he's worth every penny.
Worth it. I just don't. I don't want any injuries to happen to him, but I just want to do nah in my ears every time something happens with Jeremiah.
He had a 70-yard touchdown catch today that was it was about a 10-yard catch and a 60-yard run. Had 4 guys chasing him. Nobody could catch him.
Here's Earl Carr, obviously a BYU guy like me, harkens back to some really big games. He lists 2. There's actually about 8. They beat Pitt in the very first ESPN broadcast of football, and Pitt was ranked 33 in the country. They beat them. They beat Miami at home in 1990. They beat Texas A&M with the Wrecking Crew defense when they were ranked 3 in 1996. BYU is giant killers. Irish. They beat Notre Dame, and I believe they were undefeated when they went into Notre Dame and won that game. So
yes, I also remember them beating Ohio State one year. So
yeah. Can you guys find like a 2-sport athlete who can get the money from the NIL program for basketball as a point guard, but also play quarterback?
That would be awesome. I don't know who that would be, though.
I question for you, Nate, and don't take offense to this. Do you think it's harder to recruit at BYU with the morals and things like that?
Absolutely. Of course it is. You got 18, 19-year-old kids that they're away from home for the first time. They're given everything. Nowadays they even have money. Back in the day they didn't have money, but of course, raging hormones, everything associated with it. But BYU's taking advantage of it now. Basketball specifically, you can do one and done, right?
Right.
Go into the school, just play well, get into the NBA, and move along. So Kevin Young, the new coach there, is taking advantage of that. So he's recruiting a bunch of one-and-done players. And if he can get them to play together, BYU could be in the Final Four this year. That's how you can manipulate the system. What Lavelle used to do is he used to get return missionaries and then beef them up. Jason Buck, great example. Played for the Redskins, won a Super Bowl. Jason Buck was an Outland Trophy winner, and he was a monster because he was that extra year in the program because of his mission. So
right, but I'm saying non-Mormon talent.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It is extremely difficult. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I can understand as a Mormon kid that being where you would want to play. But I think
there's a lot of Mormon kids that want to go Utah and do the other thing.
Sure.
Right? They want to just do whatever they want to do.
But it's going to be hard to lure a kid in from like Miami, South.
Not for 1 year. This is what I'm saying.
I'm talking football. I'm talking about
football. Cam Ward could have gone to BYU if they wrote him a check for $1.5 million, and he could be playing, and he would only have to do the moral code for 2 semesters. That's it. Get in the NFL and move along. So there is an ability to do that. Unfortunately, BYU's. I'm on the fire. Aaron Rodriguez. Sorry, Aaron. What is his freaking name? A-Rod is what I call him. They need to fire that OC because he can't recruit those players. Everybody he's getting are retreads. Keaton Slovis, Jerry Bohannon, who's not even good enough to beat out what is arguably one of the worst college quarterbacks I've ever seen, and he's not playing. That tells you how bad the recruiting has been. So, in my opinion, they need to write a big check for somebody like a Cam Ward, do that couple back-to-back years, get that guy drafted, And then in that time, you can then have built up your recruiting base. It's going to take time. If they don't do that, BYU is going to continue to struggle.
I violated the morals clause like 7 times today. So
Okay, well, to each his own. To each his own. Judge not, lest ye be judged.
Skaven yes says still weird seeing USC on the big network. Larry the GM says, "Hi guys, I'm a happy Longhorns fan."
Yeah,
I'm happy
Larry.
for you, Larry.
Good
I
to
am
see
happy
you, Larry.
for you.
I think most of us took Texas, right? Did anybody take Michigan?
Nobody took Michigan.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, nobody took Michigan. But I think I know I lost my ass. I think I won. Depending on how the Boise State Oregon game turns out, I
Right.
may have won 2 games.
Yeah,
in our
this
pool.
has
The
been a
spreads
difficult
just
year.
absolutely
Week.
killed me.
Agreed.
Like Oklahoma State making it to double overtime to score 8 points and cover the spread was absolutely brutal. But that's college football. Hey, you know what? I lost that spread, but Notre Dame lost, Michigan lost. I'm a happy. Ohio State won big. I'm a happy camper. Got a phone call coming in here.
Call from
Clay.
to accept, press.
Good evening, Clay. Is this the Clay that's a Michigan fan?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us, Clay?
I can hear you.
Okay, are you a Michigan fan?
I am a Michigan fan.
All right, give us a post game why you don't think this is as bad as it looked.
I think Bomber, you're bad for hating the kids.
Okay.
Hello?
He laughed at that.
But I did leave the Iowa game soon, and I thought they played really well. Then I came back same as you, and they were terrible. I can't believe they lost.
Yeah, unfortunate. I mean, the Big Ten outside of like Ohio State really hasn't played well this whole weekend. Illinois, big win for Illinois. I got to take that back. Illinois came through. The Fighting Birds beat Kansas. Northwestern blew it against Duke on Friday night.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, Northwestern. I watched that game.
Yeah, you're never going to convince me that third down call while you run that play. You should just
No.
You were running it up the middle. You got 9 yards up the middle the first 2 plays. Run it up the middle to get the 1 yard you need. But hey, these academic elites, you said they were overthinking it, and it's true. So tell me,
Right.
what do you think the answer is for Michigan at quarterback? Do you stick with Warren? Do you put Orgy in there?
I stick with Warren. I think they just need time. He's first year playing, so I mean, their defense actually needed to step up though. Their tight end, Texas tight end was wide open, and they never checked him off the line at all. A couple of their cornerbacks, they play way too soft.
Yeah, it was interesting how well, the defensive line, we thought they would be, they lost some talent, but we thought, they had some seasoned guys in there to fill the roles, but it just didn't. They seemed to get pushed around by the Texas O-line.
Right. Their offense, I think it just needs a lot more time and cohesion. Starting 5 new guys.
Yeah.
I think eventually be good. I think right now they're probably going to lose Ohio State, but I still think they're not as good as Texas, but I still think they're better than USC.
Okay, so you're picking the Wolverines to bounce back 2 weeks from today in their game against USC at home. What do you think the score will be?
Well, USC is going to score, so I'm going to pick 31-28.
All right. Well, we've got it in the books, Clay. Anything else you want to get off your chest? I mean, I'm an Ohio State guy. I had a good day. I know you had a bad day, but we're fair here. We will let you get anything off your chest you want to get off.
Actually, I hate the SEC. So growing up, I hated Ohio State, but now I'm a Big Ten fan, and so I will like Ohio State winning, except for the one game at the end of the year.
I'm a Big Ten fan too, but I always root against Michigan. I can't bring
Right.
myself to do it, brother. It's too hard for me. But I'll let you say go blue before you get off the line here.
Okay, go blue. Have a good one, guys.
All right, see you, Clay. Thanks for the call.
Yep. Bye bye.
Gotta give some shout outs there to the Wolverines. It's tough losing a game, and Texas really did dominate. I mean, that game wasn't as close as the score appeared. Texas kind of pulled off the gas there at the end. So let me see. I've lost my spot here. Let me see. Illini Ted says at this rate, Cam Rising is going to be a player coach.
Yes, he is. Yep.
They were dunking. What game was I watching where they were dunking on Cam Rising? Like the commentators were like, he's in, I think it was the Michigan-Texas game where somebody was like, yeah, I was a freshman starting out with,
Right. When Cam.
Rising.
Well, let's think about it from Cam's perspective. Really, is he even going to get drafted next year? He could come in and be a journeyman backup, but he's not going to start for anybody.
If I'm an NFL GM, I'm not taking a chance.
That's what I'm saying. So you might as well stay in college as long as you can to continue, because Utah is going to keep paying him. We've heard Wild Ute say it several times. As long as he can suit up, he wants Cam Rising as his quarterback, even to the point where he could watch a talented backup leave because he doesn't get that starting opportunity. So the worst case scenario for Utah this year is they go 9-3, 8-4, miss the playoffs. Cam is out the last 2 or 3 games, but by January they find out reconstructive surgery, he can be back in the fall. That's the worst thing that can happen to the Utah program, and in my opinion would put him back, because if Cam stays for $1.5 million NIL and they let one of their good backup freshman quarterbacks go, that's going to kill the program.
I hear you, but you got to remember they pushed Dylan Gabriel out the door at Oklahoma for Arnold Jackson, and Arnold Jackson did not look good today.
Well, at the end of the day, you're going to sacrifice for your future for another half chance at getting in the playoff, because he's going to get hurt next year too. He cannot play a full season. He never has.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope the best for the young man, but if I was a GM in the NFL, I would not.
Oregon just scored.
Okay. What's the score on then?
It's going to be 21-20.
Okay. Kerry Go Knowles. Kerry, thinking about you, brother. Need anything,
Kerry.
reach out?
Yes, Kerry. Definitely.
Need anything, reach out,
Yeah, let us know.
Nate and myself, we've been through it, so.
Absolutely. Yep. Let us know if there's anything we can do.
Devil Frog says, let's go Boise. Let's go ASU.
The original OG Mafia is Devil Frog. Oh, they just missed the extra points. Was 2020.
Oh, there you go.
And ASU is up 27-3 at the half, or just heading into something.
I'm telling you what,
34 seconds.
Arizona just missed. It's 13-10. 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Sorry.
We all got when Antoine Codes, I think you're still in the chat, Antoine, man, we were wrong about Arizona State.
Yes.
They are good. And they lost their quarter
Rashada
to Georgia. Yeah. So Arizona State might be the best team in the Big 12, guys.
It's possible. It's early. 2 games in. Very few conference games played. It's early.
Jan Holtz says sun is coming up soon and still great college football games going on. Absolutely.
Love you, Jan Hulk. I hope you're doing well. Keep us posted on your health.
Stormy Clyde.
Southern Utah and UTEP look like they tied it up and are going into overtime.
BYU beat Southern Utah by 30 points. So
Stormy Cyclone says 5 teams are standing out: Georgia, Ohio State, USC, Texas, and Miami. 2 of them are from the same conference, so only one of them is going to be able to get that top 4 seed.
Say that list again.
Georgia,
yes. Ohio State, yes.
USC.
USC, yes. Texas, yes. Miami, yes.
I think if USC can go into the big house in Ann Arbor in 2 weeks and win that game, I think that's,
they're on their way.
They're on their way.
USC.
I've seen the LSU loss. Paul Feinbaum was immediately spinning that last week that LSU wasn't a good team when USC
A few we
beat them.
didn't mention. Tennessee looks very, very good. Tennessee could surprise. Mississippi, not Mississippi State. Ole Miss looks extremely fast. That team is extremely talented. So, there's probably 10 or 11 teams, honestly, top to bottom, you could say have a chance.
Antoine Coates here says, Bomber, don't confuse Tucson trash with ASU, please.
Did I? I don't remember doing that.
You must have.
No, I think maybe you misheard me. I said Arizona is losing, and I was wrong about Arizona State. How was that? I know for a fact I talked bad about Arizona State. I said I think I had them last.
I think I had them close to last.
I don't run from that.
Close to last.
Yeah, I don't run from that. I own my predictions. No way.
Yeah, we were wrong about that one, or so it looks like. So it's just early in the season, but so it looks. Stormy Cyclone says Tennessee looking good. Forgot them.
No, I remembered them. I remembered them.
So is Tennessee great and NC State just got rolled, or is Tennessee great and NC State is actually terrible this year?
Did you see any of the game?
I think it's both.
I did. I thoughts and prayers for Justin, but
yeah, right. That's true.
It's all Greg's fault.
I think North Carolina State was overrated to start. Probably wasn't top 25 material, which, by the way, is another reason we ought to get rid of polls. We ought to go to the first bowl picks, like in it's week 6, right? Or the first official playoff. Isn't that right? Week 6 or week 7? We ought to get rid of preseason polls.
I don't know for sure.
North Carolina State was no way a top 25 team.
Did Pflugar pick Oregon in this game? Does anybody know?
I have no idea.
I do not know what he did on this one.
No.
I mean,
Northern
I don't
Arizona.
think he's going to go 1-9 again. That's so hard to do.
Northern Arizona is going to run the ball right at Arizona. Kill the clock.
Clay says Idaho beat Wyoming. There you go.
Yeah, Wyoming is arguably the worst team in all of FBS.
Bomber, what's up with Texas Tech? Hype 2 years now, 4 and 5-star recruits, and still average or slightly below.
Yeah, I am shocked. Both years I've picked Texas Tech to at least be. Well, this year I had them lower, but last year I had them challenging for the entire league. I don't know what's going on there. I cannot fit. Joey McGuire, right? Is the coach.
Yeah.
He came in with a lot of positive energy. They looked completely lost last year, and again this year. They do not look good. So I don't know, Stormy. I don't know what's going on with them.
What's the score in that game now?
Which one?
Texas Tech is 27-10 Washington State end of the second quarter over Texas Tech. And just back on that Idaho-Wyoming game, I know Wyoming's not doing great, but that was only a 4-point game, and Idaho was favored by 26. So just proving that rivalries, you never know what's going to happen.
There's no doubt about it. A classic trap game next week. BYU plays Wyoming in Laramie. Probably the worst scheduling mistake by Tom Holmoe in his whole career at BYU. I don't know how that happened, but too emotional. The team's still struggling. You go to Wyoming, and BYU's never played well there. So I think it's a huge mistake, that scheduling thing. I don't understand it at all.
Illini Ted says NBC going to have a lot of bad Notre Dame games to televise. This is not what they wanted with that contract.
Well, but if you look at the schedule, you knew those were coming. We talked about it preseason.
Right. But you
They
didn't
play
expect-
nobody.
Well, right. We said they played nobody, and they lost to Northern Illinois today.
That's what I'm saying.
So maybe
Yeah.
that schedule isn't as soft as we thought. I mean,
Or they're just bad. The Texas A&M game was an aberration. That could be possible too.
well, that's an SEC team, so it's quality win
Yeah.
unless they lose, in which case it's not.
Hey, been there, done that. I remember last year Miami beating Texas A&M and thinking we were golden because it was a quality SEC team, and 7 weeks later we're talking about knees.
Porter Osborne Jr.'s in the house. Just saying good evening to everyone. Good to see you, Porter.
This is what Antoine Codes is calling. If I just that was a misspeak. I can't remember who Arizona beat last week. I thought it was Wyoming. I just got it wrong. Antoine Codes. I just remembered wrong. That's all. Wasn't
Yeah.
for the schools or anything.
How would you guys grade the Big 12 this weekend?
Yikes.
Boy,
I'd grade him a C for Cincinnati.
Yeah, yikes. It was not a good weekend for the Big 12.
that was
Or-
a great game if you're a Pitt fan, but if you're
Yeah.
a Cincinnati fan, blowing that lead that late in the game.
Yeah. It's been a bad week for the Big 12. There's no doubt about it.
No, I wouldn't say it's been all bad. I think Arkansas is legitimately a good offense. Oklahoma State fought hard, came back
Iowa
in
State.
the game, won and covered somehow. Iowa State won. I think that's a big win. BYU, I think their defensive win over SMU. I think SMU
Fantastic.
was
Fantastic.
not as good as we thought they were.
Yep.
But, I think C might be the correct grade there, Rock and Rant, because it's peaks and valleys. But I think that's been true of every conference.
Yeah, I haven't gone and seen the conference, out of conference schedule, where the current how everybody's looking against each other or just out of conference in general. But yeah, like the general feel is, it's a little bit all over the place. Like you can choose your journey and tell your story depending upon who you want to lead with.
Did anyone check on Immaculate? No, I'm giving him his time to grieve.
I
He's
still
a
can't
friend,
believe
so
they
I'm letting him
lost.
have his time to grieve.
Still can't believe they lost.
Marcus Freeman is a result of letting the players influence your coaching hire, plus being cheap as well. The truth of the matter is they wanted Luke Fickell, and Luke Fickell wasn't going to step over Marcus Freeman to take that job.
At least Larry Coker won a title.
That's technically true. Technically.
Larry Coker. There's a flashback.
Oh, that guy with the ears. Willie Fritz
Larry
at University of Houston could be dangerous in the Big 12 2 to 3 years from now. They look terrible now, though.
Shout out to all the Oklahoma people that were mad about where we ranked them.
Yeah.
And then you delivered to that game against Houston, who was ranked well below in most Big 12 preseason rankings. Good luck in the SEC this year.
Fatal Jedi says, when the SEC loses, it's reported as a quality loss.
Yes.
Always.
Always.
Jan Hulk says if Notre Dame loses another game, they will not get into the playoffs.
I don't know that that's true.
Yeah.
I still
Notre
think,
Dame.
yeah, they are Notre Dame 9-3. They beat Florida State. I think they could get in still.
The Northern Illinois was stacked with seniors and super seniors. It doesn't make a difference if they were
they're all wearing
seniors.
the same uniforms.
Yeah, they were playing Notre Dame at home.
They were stacked with veterans that still had, I think, a 60 or 70 talent gap on most sheets.
Yes. Exactly right.
Tony Washington says USC has 246 net yards in 17 minutes of game time.
Hey, I think USC, I didn't know whether that UCLA coordinator would be able to come over and turn around that defense that quickly, but that was an impressive showing. And USC, I think, is also for real.
Yeah, I think we're learning that.
JB's over Aces says ASU looks awesome. I'm not watching the game, but I'm seeing that score, and yeah, that seems to be the case. Or Mississippi State, Paul Feinbaum's going to say this weekend is not a good SEC team. Anytime an SEC team loses, they're not a good SEC team, according to Paul Feinbaum. Northern Illinois beat Alabama in 2003, and that team was also full of seniors. Yeah, they've got some giant slayers. Meanwhile, Nate's commenting, we can't see it. He was saying, get him.
I'm cheering for Boise State. So
Sam Levitt is missing on too many deep balls tonight. The run game and defense are playing very well so far. Big check for a player like Ward and provide a little outside kitty.
BYU has to do that. They need to get money to get a quarterback in there.
And Roger on the outside kitty. Michigan is lucky. Texas let up in the third quarter. Could have been a lot worse. I agree with you. I think they did, and it could have been a lot worse. Devil Frog says Kansas is overrated.
Well, 3 interceptions. Jalen Daniels, you can't do that.
JB's over Aces says ASU might be one of the best Big 12 teams. No joke.
Well, we'll see. We're early.
We'll see. You know, try and get into number 3 here, but Michael Smith says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Utah, Arizona, Arizona State, Kansas State, TCU. Big 12 finish order. Last, Colorado. If Colorado finishes below Houston or Cincinnati, they may fire Sanders.
It would be so awesome if they finished in last.
They're not. They could finish last. It's going to be a fight. Houston is still not a very good team, even though they took Oklahoma down. Cincinnati, what is that all about? Colorado
they made the wrong coaching hire at Cincinnati.
Yeah, there's 4.
Was never the answer.
There's 4 or 5 teams that are going to fight for that last spot in the Big 12.
Clay Johansson says, I picked Oregon. Don't look like I will win this one. I didn't like BSU defense, so I figured Oregon would score and hopefully stop Boise State some, but Boise State keeps scoring.
Never pick against the spread with Boise State.
Never say never, though, because, listen, I had 7.5 points, and Oklahoma State got to double overtime just to score a 2-point conversion and screw me over. So never say die, never give up, because I thought, hey, I had Arkansas winning outright. They're going to lose, but at least I covered the spread. And they said, not so fast.
Yeah, my question on Oregon isn't so much about today. Like, I picked Oregon to win it all. And these last 2 weeks are not giving me very much confidence in that selection at all. So I'm curious if anyone who's like really close to the team or follows them more closely than I do, even though I do pay attention, just has like a take, because this is definitely not the start. And granted, they're playing good. They're not playing, the daughters of the poor in these non-conference games. They might not be the SEC teams, but they're playing, a rival like Idaho. They've have history with Boise State, a program that a lot of people have picked to take that G5 spot. I'm just curious what the hell's going on there.
I think Oregon is going to find out that the jump to the Big Ten is a lot tougher than their boosters thought it was going to be.
Kansas, Cincy, Tech, and Colorado stunk up the Big 12. That's from Devil Frog. And I can't really lump Kansas in there. I think Illinois is a better team than people think.
We'll see.
And it wasn't until the very end that Illinois took the lead on them. So, yeah. Notre Dame lost to Marshall and came back and had an okay year. Northern Illinois might be their Marshall game. As long as they don't lose to Stanford, too. They've got a game against USC they have to win. If they win against USC at the end of the season, even if they have 2 losses, they might be able to leapfrog their way into the playoffs.
I think so.
Boise has always been stacked with super seniors. Hey, Mo, and I root for OSU to have 1 or 0 losses because for the Big Ten, I want Michigan and OSU to be 11-0 when they play. Go Big Ten. I cannot bring myself to do it, Clay. I am sorry.
So, let me interrupt you here.
Yep.
All day long, I was saying one guy, if you have a chance to scheme around him, will not beat you. Tetaroa, what's his last name for Arizona? Has 2 catches for 11 yards.
Okay.
So, and that's separated by 1 week, right? He does 210 on like 8 catches, the record for the Big 12 and Arizona, all these records. This is Northern Arizona. This isn't Utah. This isn't, Washington. This is Northern Arizona. He's got 2 catches. It just tells you one. That's why Colorado's so bad. It's because they have 3 skill players, and the rest of the team, there isn't anybody there for Colorado.
Well, to be fair, Arizona lost most of their team with Jed Fish.
Come on. You're a power school. You cannot use that as the excuse anymore.
So he's not going to New York at the end of the year?
I don't think so. I'm telling you, I'm watching it live.
He'll be fine. He'll go in the top 10 of the draft. So.
I think that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's crazy talk.
Notre Dame was guaranteed a playoff spot if they finish ranked 15 or better, I thought. I don't think that's the
I don't
case.
think it's not guaranteed, no.
It's not guaranteed. I think they get the G5 treatment. Moen in the panel, give me the grade on the SEC. The SEC was outside of Texas.
It just means meh.
Yeah.
It just means meh.
Just means meh. I didn't think that
That's
there was
hilarious.
I don't think Texas looked fantastic. I think Texas is the real deal. Texas and Georgia, they have to play each other during the season. That's going to determine the SEC champion. But,
Arkansas looked really great,
did.
for a period of time.
In the first half.
They just, as Jamie said to me, like they just did a typical Arkansas in the second half, which is, eventually you got to get over that, not doing that typical thing. And I relate. I understand. I've been there. Still might be there.
In the second half, they played not to lose instead of playing to win. And they ended up losing as a result. But I wasn't impressed overall by the SEC this weekend. Other than Texas. Texas is legit. That Texas-Georgia game might be the highest rated game of the season. The guy is McMillan, Bomber, you're thinking
Tetaroa McMillan, okay.
Yeah, McMillan.
What is this?
I don't know what that's in. Can you clarify that, JB?
Yeah, we don't know what you're talking about. I've said a lot of stuff that people disagree with. Clear that up for me, would you?
Yeah, he said he didn't like the wave.
Nate, I'm still not getting you off the hook for not being able to remember 132 teams schedule each week by heart.
Yeah, I know. I
real
suck.
time.
It's true. I suck. Oregon just scored a touchdown.
There you go. Oregon scored a touchdown. So they're up how much now?
26 to 20, and they have to kick the extra point.
So that was an 18.5 point spread. This might be the comeback that needs to work on. But I think we should wrap it up, guys. What do you think? I think we've kind of covered everything there is to cover.
Unless there's anything else they want to ask us, we could do a last call for questions if anybody has.
We'll do a last call.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and shut the phones off. I want to thank everybody who did call in tonight. It was much appreciated. Eventually, we'll get the phones working to where everybody can hear everybody. But
yikes, boys! You say that.
It was a punt return.
You can't do that. You can't give up a punt return there. Come on.
That is brutal.
Did they muff a punt?
No, a guy just ran it back 90 yards on a punt return. That sucks. That sucks. I wanted Oregon State to win that so bad.
Super chat from Earl.
There we go.
He says Kellen Moore for OC, Bomber.
Let's get that done. Steve Young went on Boise radio this last week and said he believes that Kellen Moore should be coaching at BYU. And he got the most hate mail from people at Boise State than you on social media, nobody liked what Steve Young said. But I agree. I think Kellen Moore would be a fantastic OC at BYU. And if they paid him a bag to go, that would turn the program around immediately. Like the
Maybe.
day of. Oh, because he can
Maybe.
recruit. He can recruit.
Well, I know he's
So,
got a mind for the offense, so
it
we
helps that
shall
he's
see.
LDS, right? And has connections in Provo. So,
All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up. I don't see
okay.
any more questions coming in here. Rock and I will join you tomorrow for Mowing After Dark, time to be determined. We might run at 7 Eastern tomorrow to avoid the NFL game. But we'll see. Just check us on Twitter. Check at the CFB Mafia, at Mowing After Dark. We will let you know what time it is. So we will catch you all later. This is Moen saying peace out. Nate,
Peace out. See ya.
Rock.
Have a
Rock
good one,
is-
everyone.
Have a
There
good
you go.
Sunday.
We'll see you guys later. Everybody have a good evening. Go Bucks.
See ya. Peace.